When I returned to my parents-in-law's house after the birth of my daughter, I found that my husband and my parents-in-law had joined together to purchase a luxury apartment. I was surprised, and I asked my husband, "Where did you get the money?" And he told me the shocking truth. With those words, I decided to divorce him and went home to my parents' house. And then, my husband and my in-laws faced a disastrous outcome. My name is Vanessa, and I'm 45 years old. I am raising my daughter on my own, who is preparing to enter middle school next year. I met my husband Bernard as a colleague at the same place of work. We started dating on the premise of marriage and decided to get married. Just before we got married, my husband said to me, "I want to live in a home of my own in the future. So will you live with me at my parents' house?" I hesitated because I did not think it would be right for me to live with my husband's parents so early in our marriage. "I am the eldest son of this family. I still have to stay at home. My parents are still healthy, but if I leave home, they won't be able to handle it if something happens to them." He smiled and said to me, I agreed because I wanted my husband to take care of our family, and I also wanted to own a house in the future. And then, when I moved in with my in-laws, they told me, "If you're going to live with us, I'm going to need you to put up some money for the living expenses." "I agree. If you're going to live in this house, I'm going to need you to pay what I pay." I was told, "I understand. If we're going to live in your house, we have to help pay the bills. Besides, I can show some filial piety to you both. Then as for the money, we can pay out of mine and Vanessa's salaries, right?" "Yes, that sounds good. It's our responsibility since we'll be living together." At this time, I thought that obeying my in-laws was just one of the duties as a wife. And so, we began to live with my in-laws. "I was so glad that you're both here." "Welcome." "Hello, Chuck and Zara. I look forward to living with you from now on." "You don't have to be so formal. We're a family now." "Okay, Zara. Thank you." "I'll show you to your room." So we were shown to our room on the second floor. "You may find it a bit cramped as newlyweds, but please bear with it. Also, Vanessa, could you come downstairs after you put your luggage down? You're going to learn the rules of the house. There are so many things to teach you, like cooking and cleaning." "Yeah, this is a good opportunity for you to learn things from my mom. Besides, you're my wife now, so I need you to be able to do the housework. You're a woman after all." "Okay, I would love to learn from you, Zara." And so began our newlywed life at my parents' in-laws' house. When I first started living with my in-laws, "Vanessa, can you do the laundry already? Once you're done with that, can you cook dinner?" "Vanessa, make sure you toast the bread properly. Make sure to clean the toilets too. Also, I need you to dust the bookshelf. Can you change the light bulb on the first floor? Change the one in our room too. Can you clean the AC?" At first, I was fine with it and spent my days doing housework, cooking, and working, as I had done so when I was single. However, they gradually escalated their demands. "Vanessa, how many times do I have to tell you? I told you to eat after everyone else has eaten." "But, Zara, I haven't been eating properly lately." "Why are you making excuses? You're here to be a wife. It's only natural to obey your husband and his parents." "I am sorry. I'll be more careful next time." "Come on, Zara. Vanessa, I want you to be a good wife to this family." "Okay, Chuck. And at other times?" "Vanessa, when will you have children? I can't wait to see my grandchildren. Besides, I can't have a childless woman as my son's wife forever. Oh, of course. After you give birth to a boy, you will finally fulfill your role as a wife." "Yes, of course. But Zara, my husband and I have discussed the timing of the baby, and we've decided when we'll have one." "Bernard, is this true?" "If you want a kid soon, Mom, then we'll do that." "What? But you said that we should cherish our time together."
"Did I say that? Well, we're getting older, so we should have a kid soon."
"Well, that's that. I want to see the face of my grandchild as soon as possible. They bring up the topic of children like this. And on top of that, when Zara and my husband aren't around,
Vanessa, how are your nights with my son? Perhaps you want some of my DNA.
no, thank you, Chuck. I'm fine with that sort of thing.
I see. Well, that's too bad.
He sexually harasses me like this during my days off from work.
Vanessa, can you weed the yard?
What? The entire yard?
Yes. Do you have a problem with that?
The garden that Zara said should be weeded by the end of the day is in disrepair and untouched, except for one corner of the garden that Zara uses for her gardening hobby.
Oh, yeah. And don't even hydrate or take a break until you've finished cleaning up the yard.
But it's quite hot today, and the temperature is going to keep rising.
What are you saying? Now that you're married into this family, don't be lazy.
On this day, I managed to do as Zara said. Indeed, I had married into this family, but I was treated more like the maid than a wife. That evening, I decided to talk to my husband about Zara's recent behavior. Bernard, I need to talk to you about something.
What is it all of a sudden? I have work tomorrow and I'm busy.
I have work tomorrow too, but please listen to me. Zara has been bossing me around a lot recently. It started out as nothing, but now it's more than just a joke.
What the hell? You're upset over something like that? Mom's just taking it easy on me now that I'm married and have a wife. Besides, we're family, so it's only natural for her to ask you to take care of things, and all you have to do is listen to her.
But
if you don't like now how she's treating you, I've got an idea to fix this.
yeah, okay, thank you. Please do. I decided to be relieved when my husband told me that. We had an uneventful day, but shortly thereafter, I found out that I was pregnant. I was currently working as a sales representative, which meant that I had to walk around a lot on my way to the outside of the office. Therefore, my current department was demanding in terms of work. And although there was a way to transfer to another department and work mainly in the office, I chose to leave because the morning sickness showed no sign of subsiding and I tended to get sick. And even though I was home resting because I was sick, Zara didn't care about that.
Vanessa, since you quit your job and are home, why don't you do something about the house? I don't know if it's morning sickness or what, but you're just spoiled.
I'm sorry, but I'm not feeling well, so I'll take the initiative and do the housework. Like cleaning up after my meals and laundry. That won't be too taxing on my body. My obstetrician told me to take it easy and I can't move around as much as you want me to.
Oh, in the past, wives used to do housework right up to the time of the birth of the child. If she couldn't even do her chores properly, she's useless. If you weren't bringing money into the house, we would have kicked you out of the house long ago.
Zara told me roughly. And from my husband.
You quit your job to stay at home, so why don't you take some of the burden off of my mom's shoulders?
I was told that I was to be treated as a complete housekeeper. From then on, I ignored the doctor's orders and spent my days doing housework at the behest of Zara, Chuck, and my husband. I was convinced that everything Zara said was right. And because I was forced myself to do housework, my health deteriorated and I was rushed to the obstetrician, where I was hospitalized and had to stay in the maternity ward until the birth of my child. I did not receive a visit from my husband or Zara, and the only people who came were my parents. I delivered my child safely, but my parents-in-law and husband did not come even when it was time to deliver the baby. Then came the day of the discharge, and I was hesitant to go back to my parents-in-law's house. But when my mother came to visit me, she said,
Vanessa, you don't have to push yourself. You can come home anytime you feel like it. We can all live together, and we'll keep the baby here for a while.
Thank you, Mom. I've made up my mind after I saw the baby's face.
I'm always on your side.
She said this to me and I decided to return to my in-laws' house. When I finally came home, my husband and Chuck were at work and Zara was the only one home. Zara then noticed that I had returned and turned to me and said,
"Oh, the useless dirty wife is back? I thought you'd never come home. Besides, you gave birth to a girl, not a boy. How much do you think you're going to disappoint us? Oh well. Anyway, I haven't gotten my money for this month yet. When will I get it?"
I had been giving my in-laws money for their living expenses even after I quit my job out of my savings. And I thought my husband had given them money as well, so I thought at that time that we were providing a pretty good living expenses as a couple. And although they treated me like a housekeeper, when I was really stuck, Zara would do all the housework for me, and I was convinced that I shouldn't say anything too extravagant. But I thought it was strange that she was asking me for so much money, so I said to her, "I'm not working right now, and you're okay taking money from me? Isn't my husband paying for living expenses? In the meantime, can't you make do with that money?"
"What are you talking about? I don't get $1 from my son who is my son by blood. I have never received any money from Bernard in my life."
"What?" I thought about the conversation my husband and I have when we first moved in here.
"I'm going to put in half my salary, so you should put in the same amount."
Because he had told me that I had been putting money in while draining my savings after I quit my job. I was having a hard time understanding the current financial situation, so I told Zara to wait until I talked to my husband about the money. "Hey, Bernard, Zara told me about the money for living expenses. So far, the only money you've been putting into your parents' house for living expenses has been the money I've been giving you?"
"Oh, guess I've been caught. Well, my mom may have told you, but I am the son of this family, and there's no need for me to put money into my parents' house. You're my wife, but you're a stranger, so it's only right that you should pay for the expenses."
I was stunned, but this finally made me make up my mind to leave my parents-in-law's house. I went to my in-laws who were relaxing in the living room, and then I said to them, "Excuse me, Zara, Chuck, I'm going to leave this house. Thank you for everything."
"What are you talking about? You can't just leave. Who's going to do the housework after you leave?"
And when I said I was leaving, Chuck, who had been listening to me in silence, said,
"That's right. If you hate us so much, it's not you who's leaving. We're leaving this house."
With that, he got up and went back to their room. My husband, who had come out of his room and was in the living room, approached me from behind.
That's how it'll be, so you can stay in this house.
With that, he went back to his room as if nothing had happened. I was standing there alone, unable to understand what was going on.
"We bought a condo for $600,000 anyway,"
Zara said, and went back to the room where Chuck was. I was so confused that I went back to my room and asked my husband about the condo that Zara had bought. "How were you able to afford a luxury condo? Where did you get that kind of money?"
Oh, yeah, we bought it with your money.
"From my savings? You used my money?" In fact, in addition to my job, I own real estate and stocks. With the earnings from the house, I was able to pay my in-laws even after I quit my job. When I found out I was pregnant this time, I sold the stocks I owned and put them into my savings. And I don't know how he did this, but he took the money out of my account and bought a condo while I was in the hospital.
We're a married couple, so it's fine. Besides, you don't like my parents, do you? I'm glad I got to show my filial piety, and you're glad my mom and dad are gone too.
No, that's not the point. You bought it when I was in the hospital, right? What were you thinking?
It was really hard. You were in the hospital. Household chores were not getting done, and Mom seemed to be having a hard time.
I see. I've had enough of you guys. Let's get a divorce. I'm getting custody of our child.
Fine then. Leave if you want. But don't think you can get any money from us.
With that, I gathered all of my belongings and went back to my parents' house. After I returned home, my father introduced me to a lawyer, and I told him that I wanted to divorce my husband, that I wanted him to pay me alimony and child support, and that I wanted to sue him for embezzlement. My husband then received the notice from the attorney and said to me,
"Please, can we start over? Please."
And so on and so forth. He texted me repeatedly. My in-laws also visited my parents' house many times while I was away, which I reported to the police as a nuisance. My in-laws were also caught by the police on the same embezzlement charges as my husband. After being charged, they were soon released. But it became a rumor in the neighborhood and the relationship between my parents-in-law and my husband deteriorated.
If you haven't suggested buying a condo, none of this would have happened.
What the hell did you say? You agreed to buying the condo too.
He's right. Bernard, if you hadn't said you wanted to buy the condo, none of this would have happened.
What? What are you two complaining about?
Hey, Sarah, why are you blaming it all on him? It all started because of what he did to Vanessa. What? You started it. You may think I don't know this, but I know you were sexually harassing Vanessa. I was tired of dealing with an old hag like you. Oh, I see. Then let us be strangers too. Fine then. We'll get a divorce.
In addition, word spread to my husband and Chuck's companies, and they were told by the company to quit and were fired. The money for the condo was to be paid back by selling the condo, and they were to pay a small amount of alimony, $500 per person per month. Later, I had a chance to speak with a lawyer. Thank you for all your help, sir. What is going on with that family now?
I heard that once Bernard quit his job, he has started to work part-time.
I see. I'm surprised someone actually hired him.
Well, it's part-time, but he is apparently getting bossed around by someone younger than him.
That's what he gets. What is Zara doing now?
Zara doesn't have much work experience, so she is struggling to keep jobs.
I see. Well, as long as she can continue to make her payments, I don't care.
Chuck is also having a hard time like Bernard.
They all treated me poorly, so they are finally getting what they deserve. From now on in my life, I want to be a person who can move with compassion for others. And since I truly want my daughter to become that kind of person, I will do my best every day to be a good example for her.